Hey guys, welcome back. Bushcraft family back again with another video. And today, is the government watching what preppers buy? Um, are they watching you buy canned food, bulk items, storage supplies? Are you leaving a prepper paper trail? Every week, preppers across America buy things like canned meat, rice, beans, flour, mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, 5-gallon buckets, candy jars, water containers, freeze dried foods. Nothing strange about that, for preppers. These are ordinary products that millions of Americans buy. But here's the question: how much information is being created every time you make one of those purchases? You swipe your credit card, use the loyalty card, online orders, have it shipped to your house, search for the products before you buy it. You ask Google about the product, and it's in the search engine. And suddenly, what used to be a simple cash purchase can leave behind plenty of detailed digital trails. So today we're going to be talking about something every prepper should at least understand: what actually can be traced or tracked when purchasing preparedness supplies. Yeah. And just as importantly, we're going to separate documented surveillance and financial reporting from internet rumors. And all this is just alleged, I'm not saying it's true or not, or where it goes from when we buy it. But let's start off. First thing to start off with: are preppers actually on a government shopping list? Allegedly. Let's get something straight right from the beginning. Buying 50 pounds of rice doesn't automatically mean some government agent gets an alert saying, "We've got a prepper." Buying canned food isn't illegal. Buying mylar bags isn't illegal. Buying canning jars isn't illegal at the time of this video. Stocking up on 6 months or even a year's worth of food isn't illegal. Millions of people buy these products every day. Restaurants buy in bulk. Farmers buy bulk supplies. Churches store food. Homesteaders preserve food. People buy during sales. Large families shop at warehouse stores. And preppers prepare for emergencies. So I'm not going to tell you that buying 20 cans of Spam automatically puts your name on some secret government database. But that doesn't mean your purchase is completely private. That's where this gets interesting. Canned goods. Let's start with probably the most basic prepper purchase is canned goods. Beans, vegetables, fruit, soups, tuna, chicken, Spam, corned beef, chili. You can walk into almost any grocery store and fill a cart with canned goods. The government generally isn't interested in someone buying a case of green beans, but think about the information surrounding that transaction. Did you use a store loyalty or can't talk loyalty card? Did you pay with a credit card? Did you order through a grocery app? Did you have it delivered? Business can collect enormous amounts of information about consumers' purchasing behaviors. Loyalty programs can provide associate purchasing with your customer account. A credit card transaction creates a financial record. An online order creates another set of records. Delivery creates an address connection. So the issue isn't necessarily the government is watching my canned corn. The bigger issue is how much information about our everyday lives is being recorded somewhere. And under appropriate legal circumstances, some records held by businesses can potentially become accessible to law enforcement or government agencies. Hence, they know what you have. That's a much different claim than saying the federal canned food watch list, and it's much more, desensitized, sort of. Okay. Bulk rice and beans. Yep. Instead of buying a 2-pound bag of rice, you buy 25 pounds, 50 pounds, maybe even 100 pounds. Then you go buy 50 pounds of beans, flour, sugar, rice, salt, oats, pasta, wheat berries. Again, none of this makes you suspicious by itself. People have bought bulk foods for generations. In fact, buying bulk food is one of the smartest ways to build just a regular pantry. But buying online creates a much more detailed record than walking into the store and paying cash. An online retailer may know what you purchased, how much you purchased, when you purchased, where it is going to be delivered, what account purchased it, and potentially years of previous orders. Think about that. Your purchase history could practically become an inventory list for whoever accessed that. Same goes for Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers. Preppers' purchase starts becoming more specialized. Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, impulse sealers, food grade buckets, gamma lids. These products aren't suspicious. They're food storage tools. But when they're combined with large quantities of dried foods, sometimes looking at a complete purchase history could point out that you're a prepper, and what you have. You're probably storing food. Imagine an online ordering containing 100 pounds of rice, 50 pounds of beans, 50 Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, food grade buckets, gamma lids. That doesn't prove anything sinister, but it looks like somebody's preparing for a long-term storage, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But That's the point. Your shopping history can reveal information about your lifestyle without you ever telling anybody. Home canning supplies is another one. Pressure canners, water bath canners, mason jars, lids, rings, jar lifters, canning salt. Again, million of gardeners, homesteaders, and ordinary families use these. Our grandparents weren't criminals because they had 300 jars of food in the basement. They were prepared. But modern purchases is different. Grandma might have walked into a hardware store with $20 and walked out with canning supplies. Today, you might order everything online. Your phone knows what you searched. The retailer knows what you ordered. The payment process handles the transaction. The shipping company gets the package to your house. That creates a much larger digital footprint than old-fashioned cash did. Another one, freeze dryers and long-term food. Now you're talking about larger purchases. Freeze dryers are thousands of dollars. Then there are commercially packaged emergency foods, 10, 20, 30, 50 years food, emergency food buckets, cases of freeze-dried meals. Again, there's nothing wrong or suspicious about owning any of this, but these purchases can strongly identify the interests of a long-term preparedness person or family. And because they're frequently purchased online with credit cards, there's usually some sort of business record connection with that transaction. That's why I tell people, don't become paranoid, become informed. We're not talking about fear. It's not trying to scare you to not buying things again. Large storage, or water storage for that matter. Food isn't the only thing preppers store. Water is even more important. 5-gallon containers, 55-gallon drums, IBC totes, water filters, gravity filtration systems, rainwater catchments, the equipment for that, water emergency pouches. Somebody is buying one jug, probably doesn't tell much, but somebody purchasing hundreds of gallons worth of storage equipment clearly has a plan for that. Maybe they're preparing for a hurricane. Maybe they're living off grid. Maybe they have a well. Maybe they're just homesteaders. Maybe they're prepping. The purchase doesn't tell why. The important thing, data shows a behavior without explaining intent. Now we get to what I think is the most important part of the entire conversation. How you purchase something can determine how much digital records is created. Cash is definitely where you can't purchase things online. Electronic payments create financial records. Online shopping creates order details and history. Loyalty programs can associate purchase with customer profiles. Apps can collect additional information depending on their privacy policies and your settings. That doesn't mean government employees are sitting around watching your grocery purchases in real time. But financially and commercially, records still exist, and they're still able to access those. And depending on the circumstances and laws, government investigators can sometimes attain those records from businesses. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just how it is. That's the simple part of living in a digital world. Here's something people rarely think about. Those little grocery store discount cards. I mean, I have one or a couple. You give them your phone number, your email, maybe your name. Then every time you scan the card, the retailer associates the purchase with the account. Milk, bread, eggs, canned meat, rice, batteries, water, anything. The reason companies want this information isn't because they think you're a prepper. They want to understand the customer. They want to advertise you, offer promotions, predict what you'll purchase the next time you go to the store, build a customer loyalty, so to speak. But the results can be a detailed record of your purchasing behavior. And that's something people concerned about privacy should understand. They forget about that kind of stuff, Same thing with online searches. Best freeze dryer. Then you see freeze dryer ads. You search for 24-year or 25-year emergency food, and then poof, food emergency advertises start happening. That's largely the modern advertising, because it's all digital. There's nobody behind the screen doing it. It's just part of the algorithm, so to speak. Companies use various forms of data to personalize advertisements and measure consumer behavior. That doesn't mean the FBI suddenly thinks you're building a bunker. But it demonstrates something important. Your digital activity can be revealed. It can reveal all your interests. And your preparedness is that interest. When government monitoring becomes a different issue, there is a major difference between ordinary consumer data collecting and government investigations. Government agents have the authority and a legal process to allow them to obtain certain records in particular circumstances. Financial institutions also have reporting obligations involving certain kinds of transactions and suspicious financial things. But we need to be careful here. Those systems shouldn't automatically be interpreted as the government tracks everyone buying food. That's not the same thing. If somebody claims the government's database is recording every American who purchased a can of meat or a Mylar bag, show some evidence. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but they can actually access that information too. Because every prepper should question government power, but we shouldn't. But we should also question claims made on the internet. There are so many different things. Every true video or every post on the internet, there's 1,000 false ones because that's what sells. Here's what concerns me more than somebody buying 100 pounds of rice. We live in a world where enormous amounts of information are generated about ordinary people. Your phone, your purchases, your subscriptions, your searches, your location, your online accounts, your loyalty programs. Individuals, one piece of information might mean nothing, but enough information together and you could potentially build a surprisingly detailed picture of somebody's life. Imagine a fly on the wall, so to speak. Seeing everything you're doing, hearing everything you're doing, watching everything you're buying, where you're hiding things, and all that information being gathered. And it could be accessed by whoever. They're not coming after you because you bought beans, but how much information are we volunteering and creating about ourselves? Should you stop buying prepper supplies? Absolutely not. No, I'm not trying to scare people and stop buying things. If your family needs emergency supplies, then prepare. Buy food, water, learn preservation, build a pantry, learn how to cook from basic ingredients, have emergency lighting, have backup cooking methods. Preparing for emergencies is normal. Even FEMA itself encourages Americans to keep emergency supplies. Only 2 weeks, but the important thing is understanding that convenience often comes with a privacy takeover or takeoff or trade-off. Yeah, I'll get it right. Online shopping is convenient. Credit cards are very convenient. Store apps, same thing, convenient. Loyalty programs, very convenient. But convenience can create data. You have to decide what level of privacy you're comfortable with. What to do, Personally, I wouldn't panic about buying ordinary prepping supplies. I'd focus on becoming prepared gradually instead of panic buying enormous amounts of stuff. Once a week, buy an extra can of vegetables. Next week, rice, then beans, pasta, water, then food storage supplies. Not because you're you're trying to hide from anybody, but because that's the simple and financially responsible way to prepare. And remember, skills don't come in a package. Knowing how to garden, knowing how to can food, knowing how to cook from scratch, knowing how to purify water, how to repair things that you own, how to grow food. Those skills can be worth more than a basement full of survival fancy products. Now, what I want to hear from you, do you think we've given up our privacy for convenience? It used to be there was nobody knew what you bought at the store because it was all cash and you went there and got it, brought it home. That was it. Nowadays, we use credit cards, we use online purchases, it's delivered to our house. There's records on top of records. And how does knowing how much information companies can collect about purchases changes the way you shop? Do you know that the information on your cell phone, they can keep that information for up to 10 years? And past that, how do we know where that information's stored? Because I think this conversation is bigger than just prepping. It's about privacy in a modern world. Preparing for an emergency shouldn't make somebody a criminal. Keeping food in your house shouldn't be considered strange. Our grandparents called it a pantry. Today, it's called prepping. But at the same time, we shouldn't ignore how much of our world has changed. Easy swipe, easy click. Every online order, every loyalty card can potentially create another piece of data. So prepare, stay informed, question what you hear, protect your privacy, and most importantly, don't let fear stop you from taking care of your family. With that, like always, God bless.